If it's Sunday, it's time for the Bach Cantata SCHLEP, Part 2. This is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, and believe it or not, we're already at BWV number 2. That means we have only 198 to go, and that's just for the sacred cantatas. We're not even talking about the secular cantatas and some other stuff yet. Number 2, here we are. Number 2 is called, let's see what number 2 is called here, Ach Gott vom Himmel, sich, darein, which means, "Oh God, look down from heaven." Now, that's a fairly innocuous looking title, I think, but actually it turns out to be kind of like scary when you really get into it. I mean, wait till you hear what this one is about. It's unbelievable, really. You need to understand the actual poem, the text, in order to see what Bach is doing about this one. So let's go through the words and really take some time and consider them. All right? I have them in front of me here from the Bach Cantata website, and I'm just going to tell you what they are, okay? Listen carefully, folks. Okay, here we go. It begins with a chorale. And the chorale is, "O God, look down from heaven, and do allow yourself mercy. How few are your saints, abandoned are we the poor. Your word is not considered true. The faith also is fully obliterated among all humanity's children." Now that's the cheerful and optimistic opening. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? Then there's a recitative for tenor, and he says, "They teach vain, fallacious deceit, which is counter to God and his truth, and this their own wit contrives. O misery, which painfully taints the church! This does persist despite the Bible. One person believes one thing, another something else. Idle reason is their compass." I know reason is always bad. "They are just like burial plots, which, though they actually seem pleasant from the outside, only conceal stink and decay and divulge rampant filth." All right, that's the recitative. Then follows an aria for the alto. "Wipe out, O God, the doctrines so perverting your word. Defend against heresy and all rank souls, for they speak unabashedly, defying him who has dominion over us." All right, that's the first aria. Then there's a recitative for the bass. Get this one, folks. This one actually is a little bit better because God gets to talk in this one, and God, is sort of a nice guy. So here we go. "The poor are distraught, their sighing woes, their anxious lament, midst so much burden and agony, by which the foes plague pious souls, permeate to the merciful ear of the Most High. Thus God responds," and this is God responding, "I must be their aid. I have heard their supplication. The dawning of help, the pure truth of bright sunshine shall restore them with renewed strength, fostering solace and life, refreshment and delight. I will have mercy in their distress. My healing word shall be the strength of the poor." Well, that's sort of cheerful and hopeful sounding, isn't it? Well, then we get a tenor aria, and the tenor sings, "By fire silver is refined, by the cross the word is rendered proven. Therefore a Christian should at every hour persevere through cross and distress." In other words, what seemed to be nice and cheerful and helpful and consoling and God, rendering aid to the poor and the wretched, turns out what his aid takes the form of, well, if Christ dealt with it, so should you. So just shut up and suffer. I mean, those are the words, basically, right? And then there's the rest of the chorale, which is, the chorus that closes the cantata. "Would that you, God, safeguard pure before this spiteful generation, and let us follow your commands that nothing might tarnish us. The godless horde are to be found everywhere, where such wanton people are esteemed among your people." All right, so what do we learn from the actual text of this cantata? Well, we learn, first of all, that there is absolutely nothing about it that suggests a musical setting. Nothing. Zero. It's absolutely hopeless as a musical setting. I mean, even if Bach believed every single word of it as an intensely religious person does, and we know he was, what is he going to make of that thing? I mean, it's hopeless. It's absolutely terrible. So basically, what he does is he creates a setting, at least for the two arias, that essentially ignore the words as much as possible, and he just writes some very pretty music. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. That means that this is not really one of Bach's better cantatas. You'll remember in BWV number 1, how brightly shines the morning star. We had a lovely pastoral setting, beautiful instrumental solos, signs, at least minimal signs of happiness, occasionally some happiness there. There's not so much here. The opening chorus, which I will play you a little bit of, is a chorale fantasia, but this one is entirely set for voices throughout with no separate instrumental accompaniment. And there are quite a bit of instruments. This cantata uses 4 trombones, but they only support the voices. They have no independent parts, and along with 2 oboes and then the usual strings. And that's all you get. And this particular chorale fantasia has the chorale theme in the alto part, while the other parts do sort of a staggered fugal entry in quicker notes of the chorale theme. And that's what they do. That's the opening chorus. Now, the first aria, the one about, stink and rot and corruption and whatnot, it's actually rather cheerful. I mean, Bach does manage kind of a minor key interlude in the middle there, but it's pretty perky. So here is the opening chorale, a bit of that. Let's just listen to that. Here is the thing. As all these performances, this is Helmut Rilling. Let me just put this back up. It's Helmut Rilling and the Bach Academy of Stuttgart on Hensler. Wonderful performances. So here is the opening chorale. Then there's the wonderful recitative about stink and putrescence and corruption. It reads more like a Lovecraft short story than it does a religious text. And here is the ritornello of the first aria. Lovely violin solo, isn't it? Doesn't that just, remind you of stink and rot and corruption? Yeah, of course, sure it does. Okay, so the next recitative, which is for bass, is accompanied throughout, which is really very nice. That's because God is speaking. And when God speaks, he gets strings. He gets extra instruments, usually to talk by, and he conveys his promise of comfort, which is then amplified by the aria, which is for the tenor, accompanied by the full string section. And it's a lovely aria. I mean, it's just beautiful, beautiful music about how awful everything is and how you should simply suffer as Christ did on the cross and be quiet and just suck it up. It's the suck it up aria. And here is the ritornello for that. Beautiful music. It's really, really beautiful music. And then, of course, the rest of the chorale closes the cantata, and we don't have to listen to that. So I have to say, in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of Bach cantatas, this is not one of the more important ones. It has a couple of enjoyable arias. Choruses are always nice to listen to. What's not to like? But I can't say that the text has really inspired Bach to do his best work in this particular piece, because there's just nothing that suggests a musical setting here. It's all about sin and misery and unhappiness and defilement and fear and hatred and oh my goodness, it has absolutely no positive emotions in it whatsoever. None, except for the part when God says he's going to help the poor. It's the only nice part of the entire cantata. So I'm not going to waste more time on it. If you decide you want to skip BWV number 2, I would be the last person to criticize. Keep on listening, folks. I think BWV number 3 may have more to offer us. Take care.